What is going on, nerds of wrestling, and welcome to today's episode of What's Up Wrestler, a podcast by nerds of wrestling. I am your host, Justin Del Rio, and my guest at this very time is truly terrific, Ty Thomas. Ty, what is up? How are you today?
What's going on, man? And what's going on, nerds of wrestling fans? I consider myself a nerd of wrestling too, so this is going to be great. I'm excited.
Hell yeah, dude! We're happy to have you here. How have you been during this? I always ask that question though, during this whole COVID, this whole pandemic. I feel like we're near the end stage, but you never know. But how are you doing during all this?
The snap of a finger, it could be back and everything could be shut down again. You never know. So, the beginning was a little tough. Bookings getting canceled, and then just the real life aspect of everything. As it kind of progressed and we learned more about it, it got a little bit easier. My outside of wrestling job, I work from home, so that was never really an issue. So, I had it easy compared to what, some other people had to deal with and go through, whether it was contracting it or, not being able to work for so long. I was one of the lucky ones. So yeah, everything's good.
To work during that whole time, well, most of your friends were probably just chilling doing their thing. How was that for you?
I mean, it wasn't too bad. Like I said, I work from home, so it's like, you're sitting on the couch watching TV, you do a little work, you make it seem like you're there for 8 hours, and what are you gonna do? It was nice.
I'm quite jealous, honestly, for people who do work from home. I have an outside job. I was laid off during the whole pandemic. I work with kids, so they laid us off, unfortunately.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now I'm back at work doing my full-time thing. But enough about that, man. Let's talk about Ty Thomas. How did Ty Thomas really become truly terrific, Ty Thomas?
So yeah, I mean, I started like most that get into wrestling. I was like 2 or 3, and I was at home with my mom. We were just kind of sitting on the couch watching TV. My dad was at work or he was out somewhere, and we were just flipping through the channels. And I started crying. And my mom, came across wrestling, and I stopped. And I don't know how true the story is and how much of it's fabricated, but I stopped crying when wrestling came on. It caught her eye because her brothers watched it when they were little. She watched it for a minute or two and then flipped it off, and I went back to crying. So she went back to wrestling, and I stopped crying again. So she said from there on out, I never missed a Monday Night Raw, a Nitro, later years SmackDown. It never grew out of it. Like I had brothers, and we all watched it together. We did it in the living room or in the backyard, as much as they tell us not to.
Right. Yeah.
So, I was the one of the 4 of us that didn't grow really out of it. And it progressed from there. I went to college in South Jersey. And there was a school about 10 minutes from where I was going to college. And my girlfriend at the time, she's my wife now, she was in a sorority. So she was gone, every weekend or doing something during the week. So we weren't seeing each other too much. And she was like, well, you got some options here. Like, you can go do something at school, or you can man up and go do the wrestling thing you've been talking about for years. And I was like, all right, like, there we go. That's all I needed. And that next week I was there and I signed up, and it was full steam ahead from there, man.
While watching wrestling, when you got a bit older, you said your mom turned it on, you stopped crying. I'm assuming you were like a baby, so you don't really remember what wrestlers were on, what wrestlers really stuck out to you. But as you got older, what wrestlers do you remember sticking out to you?
Yeah, so I do remember a little bit because that was about it was probably like 97-ish when that happened. So, I grew up with the Attitude Era and then progressing into the Ruthless Aggression Era and then the WCW side of everything. I remember, when I was real little, Stone Cold was the big man, he was the man. So him, The Rock, on the WCW side, a lot of the former like WWE guys always kind of like Hollywood Hogan, Bret Hart, those guys were like the ones that stuck out and like had the most like recognition for me. Later on, like later years, I'm a huge Triple H fan. That's my dude.
Who is it?
I could watch his matches all day, any day. Sean's second run really good. Big fan of Shawn. And I mean, those two are like my two go-tos. Like if I'm just kind of flipping through the network or even like Peacock, I'll go out of my way to try to find like a Triple H match I might not have seen before, or a Shawn Michaels match I may have watched 500 times, just because I can't. You can never get old. You can never get tired of them. So like I might have seen the Mind Games Mankind Shawn Michaels match. I couldn't even count them. That's how many times I've watched that match. So like those are my two like guys. I could watch them all the time.
If you could go back and watch any Shawn Michaels or any Triple H match, I know you said one Shawn Michaels match with Mankind, but one match in particular over and over again, which one would it be?
Oh man. Their street fight at SummerSlam 02.
Oh, fantastic.
Real good. And then I get the best of both worlds. They're both in it.
Right.
I want to watch a whole show. I can just fast forward to that match and be good. But singles matches, any of the matches Triple H had with Mick Foley in early 2000s, Royal Rumble, No Way Out. For Shawn, like I said, I could watch the Triple H street fight. I could watch him and Jericho from WrestleMania 19 any day. Yeah, great match. Him and Mankind I could watch. Also, I guess a huge Mick Foley fan, and I don't realize it because I also love all of his matches with Steve Austin from like the early 98, right after he beat Shawn for the belt. So like I guess Mick Foley could also be thrown in there too. Like I can watch those matches anytime and just be entertained always.
It's unfortunate we really don't get those type of matches anymore. We'll get lucky if we get maybe one out of the blue like that. Speaking of which, there's so much wrestling going on in today, with NXT, Raw, SmackDown, AEW. I don't know if you heard about ROH, but even ROH is doing their thing. Impact is slowly but surely going up there, man. They're really
They're all over the
exploding.
place. They have their runs of a year or two where they're on fire and everything they're doing, and then for some reason people just fall off. Like people lose interest in Impact so quickly. And I never understood that because I was always like when WCW was gone. Like I said, I grew up in like the Monday Night War era. So like when WCW was gone, there was that little void for a little bit, and then Impact or TNA got the TV deal with Spike. Like I loved it. It was more wrestling. Like I was into it, and then they signed Christian and Kurt Angle and all these guys that I watched. So I was like, okay, cool. Like I get to still watch them. They're not gone. Like that's awesome. I don't know why people would lose interest. And then they get harder to find when they're on like Anthem and like TVs that I guess that might be a big part of it. Like they're on stations that not everyone gets, so that could be a big part of it, but they're big on the internet and everything. Like all their stuff is out there. So like the loss of interest in Impact always fascinates me. And then it comes back. So like, it's always, they're a fascinating story. But I'm glad that they're picking up steam again too, because like you said, it's another place for everyone to work and get opportunity and be seen. So
I feel like right now, especially with their AEW partnership with Impact, because Kenny Omega, obviously he did his thing for a bit in Impact, and then Christian beat him for the title.
Right.
So that, but even before that, they were having a lot of eyes on Impact, and then AEW was like, hey, let's work with them too. And AEW, man, AEW is on a whole nother level. Speaking of AEW, do you watch AEW? Are you a fan? I'm assuming, a lot of people who really kind of got their foot in the door at AEW.
Yeah, I've had a few people who I consider friends that have had their opportunities on like Dark or Elevation, even Dynamite to an extent, which it's pretty cool to see. It's awesome that they're allowing for so much additional opportunity that wasn't here maybe 5 years ago, even like 3 years ago, like because they're still very they're still getting their feet wet with all the additional content that they're putting out.
Right.
So like it's cool to see that they get opportunity. I don't watch it live every week. Like I keep up with it. But there's a lot out there, so it's tough. Like it's way easier to watch it like on replay. If I happen to be, sitting down and in front of a TV on Wednesday night or Friday night, I'll flip through it and, I'll go back and forth, with things like on Friday nights. They did the whole, it's Dynamite on Friday night. They did that they did that smartly. Like they did it after SmackDown or like
Right.
towards the end of SmackDown, so like you don't lose, like people can just flip over and you don't have to worry about the battles back and forth. But yeah, man, it's tough to keep up with everything. But you do your best. I think in this era we have a lot more opportunity with social media and like YouTube, where we can see everything that's happening. It might, we might not catch Raw live for 3 hours on Monday, but we might watch from 8 to 9 and then know what's happening from 9 to 11 just by keeping up with our Twitter feeds, our Facebook feeds. So like, I feel like we're at such an advantage now than we were, just 10 years ago, not even like 15 or 20 when we're in the early ruthless aggression era, it's better for everybody because like you said, it's more exposure, it's more opportunity, it's more feet in the door and in the ring for everybody. So it's nice. It's a good thing to see.
Yeah, and you were saying, 3 hours to Monday Night Raw, you could literally watch from 8 to 9 and be like, okay, I'm tired, I'm shutting it off, and just go on Twitter and just keep up with it.
Right.
Which is absolutely crazy. A lot of people will get mad because, spoiler alerts, but at the same time, you're not watching it. You're the one who decided, oh, I got tired, I'm shutting it off, but you're getting mad for people posting it. Why are you watching it?
And on the flip side of that, like not to cut you off, but like on the flip side of that, like you also know that they're going to be posting it on social media. So like maybe just stay off social media for the rest of the night, watch it the next day or whenever you can, and then or mute. Like there's a mute button. Like you can mute WWE Twitter or whatever Twitter, and that way you don't get the spoilers, and then just unmute them. And that's the cool thing about like if you don't want spoilers, you have the ability now to do that. Like you can just mute all social media. If you want, and then the opportunities are endless when it comes to wrestling, and a lot of people don't fully realize that yet. So it's once it is fully realized, it's going to be outstanding how much growth we have in the business. So
absolutely, man. Let's talk about your training. I know you said you trained in Jersey, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, South Jersey, yep, Williamstown.
Nice. You went to college there. What was your major up there in college? What did you study?
So I majored in business management. I always wanted to like own my own business, be my own boss. So like I kind of get to do that with wrestling, but then I have a real job outside of wrestling. So I get the best of both worlds. Kind of, I get like a real job paycheck, and then I get to be my own boss when it comes to wrestling. So it's nice. But yeah, I went to school down in South Jersey. Like I said, like 10 minutes from Williamstown, the school that I trained at. And then I was there. So I was there for like, it was like a year-ish. And then the school shut down. They went to just like running shows like every other month in different buildings. And I progressed and I moved up to like I now train at the Worldwide Dojo in Bristol, Pennsylvania with Cheeseburger.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, great school. If I know, I don't want to jump too far into it yet, because I'm sure we'll get there. But like anyone that is looking to start training, I recommend Burger School 10 times over. You're not going to find any better training, especially in the tri-state area, than you will at the Worldwide Dojo. So if you're looking to get in and start, and you're in like the Pennsylvania, New York, Jersey, even Maryland and Delaware, make the trip to Burger School. It's worth it in, every way.
I've heard many amazing things about Burger School. I've met Cheeseburger a few times at some wrestling shows. He's a great guy, really cool dude, and I know he does very well with his school. But before you went to his school, tell us about that, your training at the school you trained at to begin with. What was it like, stepping foot into the ring for the very first time?
So it was painful. Like it's not, like most people, they see it on TV and they're like, oh man, they're doing all this stuff. Like it can't hurt that bad. No, it does. It's legit. It hurts. It's not for everybody. Like I went like through just my year at that first school in South Jersey. There was probably 4 or 5 students that came through and lasted maybe 3 weeks, and then they never showed up again. Yeah. Wow. So like it's not easy. It's tough. But if you can make it through and you can stick with it, man, there's nothing like it. It's a feeling like when you do start to get matches and you're trained enough to start having matches in front of live crowds and walking through the curtain to the ring to have a match in front of a live crowd, there is no adrenaline rush. There is no, feeling like performing in front of a live crowd, man. It's something different.
Dude, I can't even imagine it. Like as a fan, it's so cool to see our favorite wrestlers, perform right in front of our very eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like for the wrestlers, you guys must get like a shot of adrenaline going through that curtain at the the cue of your music and just hearing that pop. Uh, but when you were I want to go back to your training for a bit. When
Mm-hmm.
you were training, do you remember the first bump you took? Typically, was it like a back bump or was it like a
Yeah, it was just a standard back bump. It was just a flat back bump. I can't remember if I did it just from a standing squat bump, or if
right?
it was hold on to the middle rope, lean all the way back, and let go, and just take it from there. So I know I did both of them pretty close together. So I don't know which one of them was my first, but yeah, it was just a standard back bump, and then it progressed to the face bump and the front foot bumps and everything, and then you start taking body slams and suplexes, and then you start taking everyone's moves, and then you're having matches, and you're full speed ahead, man.
Yeah,
It's all for
exactly.
the races.
That's all. It like running through the ropes too. Running, through the ropes. A lot of people go, no, that shit hurts too. It's not just.
It, so we started when I started, the ring that I started in was legit. It was real rope. It wasn't cable. So I had the rope marks, the bruises on my lats and my back for 2-3 weeks, and then I guess my body just adjusted to being smacked in the back, 3 nights a week for 2 hours, and they was like, all right, I guess we're not gonna bruise anymore. So that they're legit. And then we progressed to cables, and that didn't get any better. Those are, if they're not set to, if they're too tight, that's going to hurt. If they're too loose, you're going out. So,
right.
Yeah, that was another thing. Like, you think it's super easy, but there is a method to doing it, and doing it right and safely, so that way you don't hurt yourself, or hurt others if you're running, the ropes with people. There's a method to it, and it's everything is so, you have to be on time with everything,
Right.
or things can go wrong, and people can get hurt. You can get hurt. It's like I said, it's not for everybody, and it's tough. But there's nothing like it once you're in it.
Again, I've told so many wrestlers, I give you guys so much credit for being able to do that, because as a fan, as a podcaster, I hear so many amazing stories about these wrestlers who train, and so many stories about injuries, so many stories about like the battles they had to overcome, and I give you guys so much credit. So shout out to you guys. Going from that school you were training at
Mm-hmm.
first
Mm-hmm.
to Cheeseburger School, you kind of had a lot. Did you have like a good amount of training in you where you were like, okay, I know what to do, or was it kind of a different ball game? You kind of had to start over to his standards.
So luckily, my two main trainers at my school in South Jersey, they trained with Cheeseburger beforehand, like, and they took the train, like, they would train with Cheeseburger 2 nights a week, and then take that training and take like bits and pieces of his training and bring it to our training to elevate us,
Oh,
and
sick.
make sure we were ready. If that opportunity ever arose for us, like. They were there every week. They were doing some stuff with Ring of Honor. They One Mean Team was their tag team. They did a couple of things with Ring of Honor. They were on their pay-per-view. And so they were training with Berger and a couple of the Ring of Honor guys, and they were taking the stuff that they were learning at training there and bringing it to us, and trying to get us all ready, so that way if that opportunity, like I said, ever came about, we didn't really miss a step in that. And it was the same thing, like, before our school shut down, Berger came and helped us run a class. Like, he ran a class for us, so like we can kind of see how his trainings were. And he spent an entire training class with us, and just speaks to the guy that Cheeseburger is. He took a whole day of his, and came out and trained us. So great guy when it comes to Cheeseburger, and the guys that I train with. It was for the year that I was there, it was like a family. We were together 3-4 times a week for hours at a time, training for 3 hours, and then filming promos together, and doing all that kind of stuff. So it was it was like a family, and then transitioning to cheeseburgers was no different. Together, a lot, and you're on the road with people, and you just become like a second family.
Yeah. Now, in wrestling, as a wrestler, training never ends. I know there's always new things to learn. There's new things that are always happening. How long did it take you to get booked in your first match? How long was training from going from your first school to the other school? What was all that, the whole process?
Yeah, so I started my original training in February of 2017, and I had
Wow.
my first match in November of 2017. But it was like 6-man tag matches, so like I was super protected. I wasn't doing a lot. And then it progressed to like 4-minute singles match, and here's a veteran who's going to help you. Like you're like having a training match. Just go out there and do what you were taught. He'll lead you through it, and we'll get to it. And then it progressed to, all right, now the trainers that were at the school, they picked. I was fortunate enough that they saw enough in me to where our last big show that we did, I was in a program with them by the time the school had ended. So like,
Wow.
super super quick, but never stopped learning, because it was I was doing shows strictly with the school for a while. So it was like train 2 or 3 nights a week, go to the shows on Saturday. They would run like 2 o'clock shows, three Saturdays, and then have a night show, like a pay-per-view, WWE type deal. Like they would do their TV for 3 weeks, and then they would do a night show as their recap, right? Their pay-per-view. So the 2 o'clock shows, we had our training matches, and that got me more reps and everything like that. We would book birthday parties, and we'd get matches there and get reps and stuff like that. So it seems like a quick turnaround from February to November, but there was a lot that went into it, a lot of reps, a lot of practice, that got me there. And then, like I said, super protected the first couple of weeks in tag matches and short, quick singles matches that we would have at training, just to, get the reps in there and get me ready for, eventually being on the road and getting booked elsewhere, which didn't start until like the summer of 2018, after our school had closed down and everything. So it was about a year and some change before I hit the road being booked. And about 8-9 months before I was booked at the school that I was training at.
Holy shit. Because I was like, wow, when you said, wow, that's awesome. I was like, wow, when you said you started
It seems like a quick turnaround, but like I said, tons of reps before that even happened. So it was like an expedited course of training to get me there. And then it continued as we started, the matches and everything like that.
But going through that whole process, though, it must have been so worth it in the long run. Like you're thinking to yourself, it's worth it, it's worth it. But as you were saying that, was there any doubt in the back of your mind where you were like, I don't know, I don't think I could do this, or was it just full steam ahead?
Oh no, for sure. There's always doubt when you're starting something new. The first couple of nights were great. I didn't do much at the first couple of nights. I learned how to kind of like chain wrestle and circle the ring and do all the stuff that like doesn't hurt. So like the first couple of nights, even the first 2 weeks were great. Then the running of the rope started and the bumping and all that kind of stuff. And you're in pain and you're sore every day. And you're like, man, now I have to go to the gym and be in shape. And like, I have to, I have to do like everyday life when I'm not at wrestling. So like, this kind of sucks. Like it hurts and you're in pain and sore. But as your body gets used to it and you get used to it, you start the doubt starts to go away and you're like, okay, yeah, this is what I wanted. And this is exactly what I envisioned when I started. And then you go to learn something new and you fail at it a couple of times and then the doubt comes back. And it's just a never ending cycle of, okay, I think I got it. Nope, don't have it. Can I do this? Back to, okay, yeah, no, I mastered it. I'm good. Back to, the doubt coming back. And just like with anything, any sport, any activity, anything that any hobby, you get a grasp on one part of it and you think you have it, then a whole new part shows up and a whole new aspect of it. Right. Like I'm sure with podcasting, like the first couple were probably a little rough and then you had a couple of really good ones and you thought you had it. And then one little thing that you never encountered before shows up and you're like, well, damn, like what do I do now? Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Shit, dude. That's exactly what I was thinking. You took the words right out of my
Yeah.
mouth, bro. Like, like you're like, I'm about to ask all these questions, and I'm about to say the same thing, and you're just like, I'm like, yeah, yeah. He
I'm
just
just
took the
I'm
words.
keeping it rolling for us, right?
Keep
Yeah.
keep it rolling. Exactly. What was your first book outside booking of the school, if you can remember?
So it was as a referee for a company. Yeah. So when I started training, um, I did my training. I was training as a
Right.
wrestler, but to get me like comfortable in front of a crowd and on the shows and a way of introducing me that wasn't in wrestling because I wasn't ready to start having matches yet. I was refereeing matches, and I was doing that for maybe 2 or 3 months. And then before like one of our Saturday shows, my trainers called me and they were like, "Hey, we have a spot open in the car. We're going to this company D2W, and they might need a ref. Like, are you down to just come and drive? Like, jump in the car, drive with us, and like if there's a spot, we can probably get you're there. We can put your name in. We can see if we can get you on it. If not, at least you're in the car and you're
Right.
meeting people." I was like, I'm there. Like, not even a second thought. Just like, yeah, okay, cool. Like,
Absolutely.
packed some extra clothes and some ref stuff, and hit the road to get to training that day. And yeah, so that was like my first. And then I ref that night. The guy thought I was there to wrestle, and he like starts like telling me what my plans were for the match and everything like that. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then I went and found my trainers. Like, I don't have gear. Like, I'm
Oh
only like 2 months
no.
into this, yeah. And he thought I was someone else. So I ended up just reffing the show that night. And I ref at D2W for about a year longer from there. And before I started having matches there, but it's what you got to do sometimes.
Right.
You foot in the door and you do what's asked of you until the opportunity shows up. And the opportunity showed up, and I was lucky enough to be able to wrestle and have a consistent booking with D2W from there on out, which was another great place to work. Like, going there every month, like I said, just second family, man. You see everybody once
Yeah.
a month, twice a month, and everyone is friendly and great, and it's just a great atmosphere and great locker room to be in. Another place that I'm glad I was able to get a chance to start there and continue to work there.
I feel like in wrestling, there's always the bright side because you just said it. Your trainers called you. They're like, "Hey, we got an extra spot. Do you want to come?" They might need a ref. If not, you're getting your foot in the door. You're meeting
Right.
people. See what happens. And like I said, I mean, yeah, like worst case scenario, but best. It's like a worst and best case scenario. You don't ref, but you meet these people,
Right.
and you got the best of both worlds that night. But now you're starting to wrestle. And who are some opponents that you faced? What were some of your toughest matches? What were some of your best matches?
So, some of my best matches that in my opinion, like
Yeah.
everyone has their own opinion, but like personally to me, like I love the stuff that I did with my trainers. It was a tag team stuff. We ran a program from like March to May, couple of months here and there. We intermingled singles matches, me and my partner with them, and then we did like mixed 6-man tags, and we kept this. Great story. It was some of my favorite. It finished up. It culminated with a ladder match at like the last big show for the
Nice.
tag belts, which super cool. Like things we watched on TV, and now I get to do it. Like I'm not pretending to do it with my brothers at 8 years old. I'm living it. So like super like there's something that like super cool to me. Like I hold that match up. Like that's my favorite match of mine personally. Like I still like every couple of months I'll flip it on and just watch it. Just because like I got a half an hour to kill, so I go back and
Right.
watch that.
Hell yeah.
And then more recently, like I was working a program at this company that I'm working for now with a guy named Eddie Thomas. So we had some really good matches, some solid matches there. And another one where we went 4 or 5 months of a story. Some of my, I like all those matches too. Like I can go back and watch those anytime I want, just because I enjoy them all. And then and I don't know, like I haven't had like a match where I'm just like, You
Right.
know, that like it's just not like I can find, bright spots and everything, but I'm also like I played sports my whole life. Like I know how like you can go back and watch and find things that are wrong, which I do
Right.
that too. Like I look back and like, man, I should have done this, and this differently. And I watch it with someone, and who's been in the business for a while, and they look at it and they're like, yeah, you could have done this and this, and that's how you learn and that's how you grow. But I don't know. I just don't like to say a bad word really about anybody.
Nah, man,
Like that's
it's
just
all
not
good.
not who I am. Like I just like to try to keep things positive and find
Absolutely.
find the bright spots, and I know internally what can be changed and what could have been better. So I do that and I learn and I grow by myself and try to keep everything positive.
Positive vibes, man. Before we go, I always say there's so much wrestling out there. You're from Jersey, correct?
Yes. Yep.
So
Yep.
much wrestling in the Northeast. Connecticut, Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
PA, everywhere. You name it, there's wrestling. Where do you see Ty Thomas wrestling? Where do you have your eyes set on?
So man, I'd be lying if I said like I didn't want to be down in Florida wrestling in NXT or down in Georgia at like uh, Cody's school for AEW.
Right.
Like I'd be lying if I told you those weren't like my end goals. But I'm also a realist. Like I understand that like 1% of everyone that gets into wrestling makes it and gets down there and gets a shot to really do something down there. So like I have goals. Like I would love to travel to the West Coast and wrestle somewhere in California or wrestle in the South, like down in Texas. Like every area has a different like fan base, like that like different things, and it would just be so cool to experience like what wrestling down in the South is like, or what it's like on the West Coast, or even like in like the North, like going to Canada would be fun for me. Like
Yeah.
just not
Right.
only for wrestling, but like it's a cool spot. Like I can
Hell
make a
yeah.
vacation out of it. Like I can go wrestle 2 or 3 nights a week and then make like a vacation out of it. Like I try to find like the real life aspect of things is too when it comes to like the travel that we get to do. It's something that like not every job is going to offer you. Like I said, I work from home 5 days a week from 9 to 5. So what I'm like, I can watch videos about traveling, but I can't
Right.
do it. I'm stuck on a laptop for 8 9 hours a day. Wrestling, I can call a promoter and be like, hey, I'm available this weekend if you have a show, and the next weekend I can be in Maryland, or I can be
Yeah.
I could be on a plane to Tennessee, or whatever it is. It's there's nothing else like it. So that's just my end goal, is to be, just to get to travel the country or travel to a different country, and just get to experience what wrestling is out there, what life is like out there, and just to see something different. But like I said, end goal is always, I want to be. I got
Right.
into it to be on TV, and I got into it to be a WWE superstar, or now an AEW superstar. Like
Yeah.
when I got into it, it was just WWE. So like that was the end all be all for me. But now there's so much, like you said, like we talked about, so much opportunity. Like getting to work with Impact would be awesome. Getting to work
Hell
with
yeah.
AEW would be fantastic. Even some of these larger like indies that are out there, like PWG, with everyone, like with everything coming back, they're going to have so much of their talent that has worked for them before out
Right.
on the independents now, that like they're going to be booming. Like it's a fun time to be in wrestling.
You you said it, bro. Hell yeah. Ty, I wish you nothing but the best of luck in your future. Excuse me. Thank you so much for coming on the show
Thank you
today.
for having me. Like I said, I consider myself a nerd of wrestling, so I could have gone on for another hour and a half, 2 hours, like, but I know we all got lives, so I won't
Right.
take up any more of your time.
It's all good, man. I definitely hope to have you on again in the near future. But until
Absolutely.
then, drop those plugs. Where can the nerds find you?
Oh yeah, so down on Instagram, on Twitter, I'm at Ty Thomas 1022. I'm on Facebook at Ty Thomas. YouTube, if you search Ty Thomas, and do a little, yeah, probably have to do a little searching on YouTube, because there's a lot of Ty Thomases out there that
Yeah.
I've found. So you have to do a little bit of searching, but you'll find me on YouTube too. Most of my matches are posted there, and you can keep up with me there. And yeah, my email is in my all of my handles. If there's anyone out there that wants to book a podcast or book me for a show or anything like that, email is the best way to do that. So that's all out there as well.
There you go, nerds. You heard it from the man himself. Go check out Ty Thomas on all social media platforms. This has been a podcast by Nerds of Wrestling. I am your host, Justin Del Rio. Peace out, nerds.